I'll start by saying good morning. It's great to see you all in this room. Welcome to Pellissippi State. I'm Anthony Wise. I have the privilege of serving this institution, and it's really a great honor. I'm really grateful that you've taken time from your busy schedules to be here today, and even more grateful for the level of commitment you've shown to increasing the college going rate in Knox County. There have been a few of us having a conversation about this for several months now, thinking about how we might do this work in our community, and we really can't do this work in our community without our community. So it's great to look out here and see so many friends and partners and colleagues and new folks that had an opportunity to meet and commit to taking this work. We all know the world of work is changing significantly. Workforce and the need for workforce is part of almost every conversation that I participate in, whether it's in town, across the state, or in the region. We all know that we need to foster access and success through workforce training at our technical colleges, community colleges, our four-year institutions, many of whom are represented here today in this room. And as the college going rate has declined over the course of the last couple of years, and this problem is not unique to Knox County, it's not unique to Tennessee, it's something that we're seeing nationally in many states and many communities. I'll speak from my own experience. Community colleges have experienced the steepest declines over the course of since the start of the pandemic. Pellissippi State's down about 20% in terms of enrollment, which is pretty consistent with what we've seen in the Board of Regents institutions among the community colleges and community colleges across the country as well. That decline has been particularly severe among first-generation and low-income students. And again, this institution is no different from our peers. We spend a lot of time here at Pellissippi State trying to reimagine the community college experience. We want to make sure that every student who comes through this institution can make the following statements. I found why I was at this institution and what I wanted to study. And I found a team who could support my success through the institution, and they were critical factors in my success. We want to be intentional about making sure each student finds their pathways at the institution, and that it was engaging from beginning to end. That's one of the reasons we're so excited about 865 and those pathways starting in the secondary experience here in Knox County. That our students find their future at Pellissippi State, whether that future leads them directly into the workforce, working for our business and industry partners, or whether that leads them to a transfer to a place like the University of Tennessee or Johnson University or any of our four-year partners in the region. It's going to take all of us to do this work, whether it's TCAT Knoxville, Knoxville College, the other institutions I've mentioned. We're only going to achieve our goal by working together. So again, I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. We know we've got significant work to do. We believe we set a significant goal, and we're going to do a lot of work together to make sure we get there. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce Randy Boyd, who I think I first met 15 years ago or so when we began working on something called Knox Achieves. And there are a lot of folks in the room, several folks in the room who helped get that process underway about 2009-10. In 2011, Randy was on the committee that hired me for this job. He mentions that occasionally. Some days I'm really happy about that. There's been a few days I wish they'd picked the other guy. You know about his commitment to education in the state of Tennessee. He served as a special advisor to Governor Bill Haslam. He served as commissioner of ECD, and now he serves as the president of the UT system. You're probably hard-pressed to find somebody who brings such energy and passion for the state of Tennessee, and we're really grateful for that. But we're particularly grateful for the time and energy and investment he makes in our community right here at home. So, Randy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for hosting us today. I want to thank all of you for being here. What an incredible turnout. I think Chrissy told me maybe about 150. I haven't actually counted, but it looks about right. That's exciting. I thought when I looked around the room and all the people that are here, three things went through my mind. One, when Chrissy invites somebody, people come. So I'm a big admirer of Chrissy, and it's just impressive to see when she cast this vision how many people were willing to show up. The second thing that I thought was when I looked around the room, who's actually running our county right now? Everybody that's in charge of anything is in this room. So we need to make this quick so you can get back to keep things running. And finally, though, and most importantly, it's just exciting to see how many people are so passionate about education in our community. You're here because you care. You're here because of this goal of 70%, and you understand that it makes a difference in how our community is going to thrive in the future. So it's just great to see how many people are willing to join in together to make a difference. And doing some math, though, if we do have 150 people, here's a little bit of math to know. So we are at 59% now, and our goal by 2024 is to get to 70%. And I've had a couple of people say, well, we need to get to 100%, we need to get to 80%. Got that. This is a waypoint. It's not the end game. It's just a waypoint, but it's a reasonable goal by 2024. But the difference between 59 and 70 is 450 students. So your assignment is each of you get 3 students that weren't going to go to college, and we've got our goal. It sounds like a lot, 59 to 70, but it's just 3 individual students each of you find. So we can go do that, I think. Well, Chrissy asked me to talk a little bit about the foundation, how we kind of got here, and maybe a little bit about the last couple of years, but mostly about how we got here. So I think I've kind of gotten relegated to being the class historian, so I'm going to share a little bit about some of the things that have happened over the last 13, 14 years, and we've got a lot to be proud of. Everybody here that's in higher education or any educational entity that you go to conference anywhere in the country, they always talk about Tennessee. We've even been to conferences where people say, okay, we're not going to talk about Tennessee today. Let's talk about somebody else, because we've had so much to be proud of. I'm going to start with the Race to the Top. Under Governor Bredesen, we won about $500 million with Race to the Top funds. There's a whole lot of things we were able to do with that money, but one of the most important things was we raised our standards, held our students and our faculty accountable to new higher standards. And because of those new standards and because of the accountability we put in place, our students began to improve dramatically. As a result of that, for many years, we've been the fastest growing state in the country in many different metrics in our K through 12 space. So that was something I think that was really significant. In early 2010, 2011, we passed something called the Performance Funding Act. So higher education actually had a major reform in which we get our funds not based on how many students that we recruit each year. Beforehand, it seems kind of hard to believe, but you got the funding based on how many butts and seats you had on day 14. It didn't matter whether they graduated or not, just how many students you could have in a seat on day 14. Now we actually reward our higher education institutions based on performance, how you retain and graduate students. Seems kind of obvious, but it was revolutionary at the time. The state of Tennessee is the first one to pioneer that. So that's something, again, to be proud of. I got to work with Governor Haslam in 2013, and we had some pretty significant things that year because of him. I've had a few times where people say, well, you know, it was great to have people with these ideas, but people have ideas all the time. It's up to having, it's what makes a great idea a reality is having a great leader. So all the things I'm about to share with you is because Governor Haslam got behind it. 2013, he asked me to come and be his special advisor on higher education. There's some of you that know me, and you're probably thinking, okay, 2013, you were a dog fence salesman, and now you're special advisor on higher education. It's amazing the jobs you can get when you work for free. But and he likes a bargain. But anytime you get a new job, the first thing you do is go ask the people that know what are their big ideas. So I spent a couple of months traveling all across the state, asking our leaders, Joe DiPietro at UT, everyone across the state, what do we need to do to improve higher education in the state of Tennessee? And we've got hundreds of ideas. But the problem, if you don't have a mission, every idea is the same. A great idea moves you further and faster towards your mission. But without a mission, they're all the same. So which way do you go? So we needed a mission. So I went in search of a mission. And one morning I was having breakfast with Rich Rhoda, who was in charge of the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. He said, well, Randy, we have a mission. It's in the public agenda that we publish every 5 years. And in it, it says our goal is to have 42% of post-secondary attainment by the year 2025. I thought, wow, that's perfect. I mean, for all of you guys that like goals, you like a goal that has a number and a date. You've got, this is so clear. Well, how did we get to 42%? He said, well, based on the national average, by the year 2025, Or by the national average today is 42%. And by the year 2025, if we stay on the current trajectory, we would be at 39%. So if we can stretch a little bit, by 2025, we could be at 42%. Now, if you're in higher education, sometimes you think, well, that sounds kind of ambitious. But if I think about it as a business person or as a football fan, and your leader of higher education says, our goal for the next 12 years is to be average. Really? That doesn't really sound like a really exciting goal. Where should we be? What does the workforce demands require? Well, it turned out at that time, Georgetown University, the Gates Foundation, Lumina Foundation, all done some research, and all of them pointed the same direction, that by the year 2025, we needed to be at 55% to meet the workforce needs of, or the needs of our workforce. So went to Governor Haslam with this idea in 2013 at the State of the State. He announced the Drive to 55, an overarching goal to help our state get to where it needed to be by the year 2025. Then comes the hard part. How do you actually go do the work? So we came up with 5 strategies. The colloquial phrase, we had maybe fancier terms at the time, the colloquial phrase was get them ready, get them in, get them out, finish what you start, and accountability and alignment. So the getting them ready part is just making sure that students were ready to go to college. At that time, 80% of our students entering community college needed either remedial math or remedial English. So we created a whole series of programs like SAILS, Seamless Aligned Integrated Learning Systems, remember my acronym, but helping students catch up in their senior year in high school so they didn't have to take remediation when you got to college. STAT, if you go to have to take a remediation class and when you go to community college, you got a 5% chance of graduating. So we were failing them before they even got here. So we had to do that. Another thing that we started implementing was more dual enrollment. We made 2 dual enrollment classes free then. Now it's up to 4 dual enrollment classes free. If you take 2 dual enrollment classes, you got a 95% chance of going on to college. So that was a big deal. And then the second strategy was getting them in, getting more students into college. A lot of things we needed to do to make sure that they were prepared, but one of which was taking this little idea that Mayor Ragsdale and Chrissy started here in Knox County and spreading it out across the state. We had this little program called Tennessee Achieves that was sending about 5,000 kids a year to college with about 2,000 mentors, all free of charge from donors from around the state. Governor Haslam in his State of the State in 2014 announced the Tennessee Promise, which said that every student in the state of Tennessee could go to technical college and community college free of charge forever, all matched with a mentor, along with a little bit of community service. And it was all done without any taxpayer dollars, using some excess funds from the lottery. And that's been a game changer. Now I'll just brag on Chrissy and her team for a minute. Over the last 12 years, we've gone from those 5,000 students a year to a total now of 136,518 students being sent to college. Who's counting? But I mentioned, and I'll take credit for just one little small thing. I'm a Boy Scout. Boy Scouts, when you earn a badge, you had to do a community service project. So when we were creating this, I said, maybe we should ask them each to do a community service project or a day's worth of community service each semester. Since then, the students have committed over 4 million community service hours during those 12 years. So they're not just getting a great education, but they're making a huge difference back to our state. The third strategy was getting them out, making sure that they complete. It's one thing to get students in, another thing to get them out. I'm going to give you a whole lot of examples of initiatives there, but there are a range of things and a lot of things that are still ongoing. The finish what you start, to get to our goal of 55%, there was not enough traditional age students. It's true still today. There's just not enough traditional age students to get there. We've got to find ways to find working adults and meet them where they are and get them back into college and finish their certificates and degrees. So that's a key bit. And then finally, we wanted to make sure that what they were learning was something that the actual workforce needed, whether it was a nonprofit or public service or a company. But we wanted to make sure we were training them in the things that there was actually a demand for, making sure our higher education was aligned with industry. So those were the things that we were working on back then. That's kind of the foundation. And I'm proud to say that when we started in 2013, we were at 32%. Today, we're at 46%. We're not near our goal. but we made a lot of progress. And even when we created this at the 55%, we knew it was going to be a stretch. But sometimes you have to have goals that maybe are going to challenge you. It's okay maybe if you fall a little short, as long as you push toward it. And I think our 70% goal this time is kind of in keeping with that. I think it's a stretch goal, but as we did the math earlier, when you actually think about it and break it down, 450 students doesn't seem like something that we can't accomplish. I'm going to finish with just a metaphor that I've used before, but seems appropriate for now. Is remembering about this movie that I saw many years ago. Many of you probably saw it, the movie Apollo 13. How many people saw Apollo 13? Okay, so lots of folks. So Apollo 13 is a great movie, but if you remember at the very start, Jim Lovell is sitting laying on a lounge chair by his wife, and they're looking up at the moon. And at that moment, he didn't get to go on the first lunar landing, but at that moment, man was stepping on the moon for the first time. And he looked over at his wife and said, one day they're going to talk about this moment. They're going to talk about this race to the moon. And they're going to talk about all the technology and all the science, literally rocket science that went into making this happen. But that's not the story at all. That's not how we got there. It's just a decision of will. One day we just woke up and said we were going to go, and we did. I think today is one of those moments. We decide today that we're going to make 70%. We can do this. We can do this together with your help. Thank you so much for letting me be with you, and I now turn it over to Mayor Jacobs, a person that doesn't need any introduction, but is doing a tremendous job leading our county. And I know personally he's very passionate about education and helping our young people in our community. Mayor Jacobs.
Thank you so much, Randy. Randy's very humble, so he gave credit to a lot of other people. But if you look at the improvements that have been made in education in Tennessee over the past several decades, there's one common thread that weaves those all together, and that's Randy Boyd. So thank you so much for everything you've done. Before I begin, I'd like to recognize the elected officials who are here. When I call your name, if you wouldn't mind either waving or standing up, but everyone please hold your applause until the end. So from County Commission, we have Commissioner Kim Frazier, Commissioner Larson Jay, Commissioner Daisha Lundy, and Commissioner Terry Hill. From the Knox County School Board, Steve Triplett, Betsy Henderson, Chairman Christy, Daniel Watson, and Susan Horn. I believe Janet Testerman, there's Janet from the city of Knoxville, city councilwoman. Also, Randy mentioned former Knox County Mayor Mike Ragsdale is here. Mike's in the back. And I'm also pleased that TBI director, maybe FBI director one day, David Roush is also here. Thank you for joining us. Did I miss anybody? Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. This morning, I'm thrilled to announce that Knox County is setting, it says big, but I'm going to say audacious goal because that's what Chrissy said that we were going to do. 70% by 2024. What does that mean? It means community and business leaders are standing together to increase the rate of Knox County students going to college from 59% to 70% by the year 2024. But not only are we being bold and publicly establishing this stretch goal, but also by expanding what going to college means to our students. By college, we mean not only four-year universities and community colleges, but also technical colleges. As I hope everyone knows, I am a strong proponent of education and workforce development. Education and workforce development are two of the main pillars in supporting the idea that this community creates opportunities for everyone to thrive in an engaged and vibrant community. While I do believe that our community is the best place to live, work, and raise a family, we can always do better, and we must remain hyper-focused on ensuring that our students have clear pathways to finding their own success. Subjects like reading, writing, and arithmetic are absolutely essential for everyone. For instance, my office began the Read City USA initiative in 2019 to promote literacy and reading, especially among young people. Thanks to the Knox County Library System, we have reached our Community Hours Read goal every year and are expanding the project's reach into more and more parts of our community. But while these subjects are vital for success for everyone, I also believe that God gives all of us unique gifts and that everyone follows a different path depending on what those gifts are. The key to an effective education system is ensuring that young people are exposed to as many different opportunities as possible so they have the chance to discover how to best utilize their talents, figure out what they're good at and what they love doing. For some young people, yes, that means college. For others, it might be the military. For many, it's the skilled trades and technical colleges. That's why we started the Skilled Trades Academy and Regional Training Center, the START Center, as we're calling it. This center, which is located on Central Avenue, covers a variety of trades depending on demand. Framing, masonry, electrical, welding, and mechanical, just to name a few. Students are being taught by experts in their field. Programs take 4 years to complete, but mainly with evening classes so that they can work during the day as needed. START Center is open to everyone looking to learn a trade, not just new graduates, and it is a public-private partnership managed by the Associated Builders and Contractors. I can't tell you how excited I am that the doors will be open very soon and how grateful I am to the many partners who have made this dream a reality. And partnership is the key word here. 70 by 2024 sends a message to families that we want to work with them in showing their kids the importance of post-secondary education and help them find their own pathway to personal success. It sends a message to our business community that we are working alongside them to ensure access to a well-balanced, capable, and ready workforce. And it sends a message to the rest of the world that Knox County will never stop working for our students, providing encouragement, demanding more, leading the way, and opening doors. Thank you all so very much for being here today.
Thank you, Mayor. Very much appreciate. I think it took me about 3 minutes to get Mayor Jacobs on board with this initiative, so it shows you what great advocacy we have for education in the Knox County Mayor's Office. So my name's Chrissy D'Alejandro. It's my job to now have a conversation with what I've been referring to as the Dream Panel. Everyone that I asked to show up today showed up, which I believe speaks volumes for where we are as a community in terms of valuing education. We also have over 80 businesses and organizations, many of which are listed behind me, who also jumped at the chance to say, count me as a champion of this big, hairy, audacious goal. I always tell people I was raised professionally by Randy Boyd, so we only do BHAGs in the Boyd world, and this is certainly one of those. But those 80 organizations and businesses really raise their hand for three things in my mind. Number one, to say that education matters, college matters. Number two, to say every kid, regardless of background or zip code or academic preparedness, deserves the opportunity to earn a high quality credential after high school. And finally, we're going to create a big tent around the word college. I think the mayor has done a great job from his podium working with, I know Kelly's in here, with the TCAT Knoxville, with Pellissippi, with Dondi, and all the amazing work that's happening at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Also with those institutions like Johnson, who are a great resource and fit for many of our students. So I'm going to now moderate really a conversation with this Dream Team. First of all, as we just go down, so you guys have tiny little mic friends down here that you can pick up. First of all, if you will introduce yourselves and talk about how your organization is tied to this big, hairy, audacious goal of 70%. John, you want to kick us off?
I'll do it.
All right.
Thank you. I think I'm on. Okay, good deal. John Ryswick, I'm the superintendent for Knox County Schools, and just thankful to be able to be here today. I mean, if you're superintendent, and this is what we do, right? I mean, we're trying to prepare students for that next step after graduation. We often talk about if the school system's not doing that, there's really nobody else set to do that. So it's exciting for me as a superintendent and the leader of our school system to see all these organizations and all this community centered around the same thing and really trying to to drive our young people and our next generation there. So excited about that. It's definitely one of our priorities as well.
Well, thank you. Is this on? Can you hear me? I'm Dawn D. Plowman, Chancellor at UT Knoxville. I'm very well aware that I'm the only panel member up here with their boss sitting right over there. So no pressure or anything, but my boss is the common thread, as Glenn Jacobs just referred to earlier. So we see this thing similarly. I'm really excited about the growth in so many things at UT Knoxville, but we are working really, really hard to attract students, and we're doing okay with that, I guess you've heard. But even more importantly, to retain them. And one of the things we know for sure, our experts tell us in student success, and one of mine is here, I saw her somewhere, Dr. Amber Williams, Vice Provost for Student Success. Amber, can you raise your hand? Awesome, there she is. We know that students drop out for two reasons, largely. They don't feel confident in themselves. I get here and I feel like I don't belong, and I don't have a community that I feel part of. So kind of simplistic, actually, in a way. And we're working really hard to remove those barriers so that every student who comes there, it's a personalized experience. They feel, because they're admitted with the credentials to succeed, that they develop the confidence and they find a community to belong to. So that's kind of how we're starting, and our retention rates are going forward. Second thing I would say is we're about to announce a major new initiative around online education. And we know there are 1 million Tennesseans who have some college credit. We can help. I think that's one of the ways we help with this. Get to the finish line. Life has gotten complicated. They're doing other things, but let's help them get across the finish line, because we know life is better with a degree after high school. So I'll stop right there.
Mike Odom, Knoxville Chamber. My boss is sitting right over there, so he may not be on the panel, but he's here. So our role at the Chamber for this initiative is we have committed to transforming the Knoxville area economy in preparation of the next industrial revolution called the Imagination Age. And in order to do that, we know that all that workforce has to have some kind of post-secondary education. So that means after high school. So whether that be the things that Chrissy mentioned earlier, whether that be certificate, whether that be an apprenticeship, they're going to have some kind of post-secondary education in order to compete. And so we feel very passionate about that. The vast majority of jobs that will exist in 2030 do not exist today. And so we've got to start preparing our kids. And 865 Academies is a marathon. This initiative is a sprint, and we want to help be able to support that.
Ronnie Chandler, Executive Director for Project GRAD, and just want to say nod to Knoxville College in the house. Since 2020, the GRAD program now lives within the Knox Education Foundation nonprofit. GRAD has been in partnership with Knox County Schools for more than 2 decades. To help increase the graduation rate and the post-secondary enrollment rate through equity work, working in college and the career access space at Austin East and Fulton and for their feeder schools. All of our staff are nationally certified college access advisors, and they are based full-time at the schools. We also provide post-secondary support for the scholars once they are enrolled and pursuing higher education. The majority of Austin East and Fulton students are students of color, and many of them are from families and communities of concentrated challenges. At the highest level of our work, we do 3 things. We inspire hope, we provide opportunities, and we address barriers along the way.
Thank you, guys. Okay, we're going to jump in. All right, John, the 70x24 goal is meant to be community-led and embraced, although this is also directly tied, as you said, to K-12 and the work happening in Knox County schools. Talk to us about how this fits with your overall vision and how it relates to the work happening with 865 Academies. It's the number one question I've gotten from everyone.
That's good. No, thank you for that. And so I will definitely get to 865 Academies, because I think we did a big launch last week on that, and I think as it goes more public, people are having more questions. So I would say, first of all, we have 4 major priorities for Knox County schools, and all that's to guide our work so that students will be successful when they graduate. Sorry, I stuck my throat. The first is excellence in foundational skills, because we know we have to start there really on third grade literacy, and then also Algebra 1 proficiency. We know, again, working close with Mike and the future jobs that are out there, STEM jobs, that's why algebra fits into that. That's kind of the gateway to math and science when you go beyond that. I think we've heard a lot about third grade reading and the importance of that to keep students on track. Great educators in every building. That's both administrators who can keep us focused and an eye on the ball of what really matters every day, but also it's great teachers who can effectively relate, not only relationally as a person, but also to the content that they need, hold students to high behavioral and rigorous expectations. Success for every student. We understand every student doesn't start at the same place, so there are other interventions we need for that. But the big one for this meeting is really career empowerment and preparation. That's our fourth priority. As I said earlier, we understand if we don't get this right, the whole community falls behind, right? No one else is going to pick that up for us. So for us, in our high schools, we launched an 865 Academies approach. We can't keep doing the work the way we've been doing the work and staying at 59.5% for post-secondary. We have to change how we do that. So there are some structural changes in that. 8 of our high schools made that move this year. The first piece of that is really around the concept of how does big feel small? Very much what Chancellor Plowman just said. If you can connect and be part of that, you're more likely to engage and see something through to the end. So for us, freshman academies are the first piece of that. 8 of our high schools launched that this year. There are dedicated personnel to that, but really I think the real power is a dedicated team. Instead of having a science wing or a math wing or a social studies wing, we have all those teachers teaching side by side around kids. So they're still teaching their subject to those high rigorous standards, but they're doing it as a team. So not only are they worried about their subject, but they also do hot lists of kids who fall behind, building interventions for that. We've seen huge turnarounds. I see some folks from Central here today. Central High School is one of those that we've seen their failure rates drop. We've seen their discipline rate by about 40% drop in the first semester. Just having that dedicated team of teachers around setting that expectation, common expectation for all kids. That'll move into next year, and this is what our launch was for those 8 schools last week, was those schools name their career-themed academies for grades 10 through 12. So once a student finishes their freshman academy, they'll get that same small team, will be a different team of people, but that same concept of a small team around them that includes an assistant principal, that includes a dedicated counselor. We'll get into some of these positions in a minute, an academy coach, also a college and career counselor for each of those, so that they have a very small community to live in. And then also the career tech ed classes are part of that too. So they really get exposure to aptitude testing, to different careers, and we'll talk about business engagement, how we invited them as well in a little bit.
You want to talk about that now? I'm going to go off
I
script.
can do that. All
Little
right, we'll
bit.
do that.
Sorry, guys.
I don't want to take the whole time. I can talk forever. For those of you who
But
know me.
I think it's great. Like, we do have business and industry in the room. So talk about how that process is going and how you are engaging with that really important piece of this puzzle.
No, I'll say, so K-12 has historically, and a lot of business folks in the room, has been difficult. It's kind of like we do school, you do business, and how do the two meet? I think sometimes the school system has not thought about that our main job is to prepare the next generation. We can easily get kind of siloed into just thinking about subjects or thinking about test scores or that sort of thing. But our ultimate goal is that. We have not had a structure in place to receive that. It's not unusual to get a call. I'll tell a story lots of times about a call from a person who had a breakfast with Mayor Jacobs, and they called us and said, I want to give X dollars to start this program. And Dr. Wilson, who's in the crowd, one of our assistant superintendents, we got on the call with the person, and they wanted to give a finite amount of money to do this thing, and we're going, well, we don't know how to, we have to hire a teacher for that, we have to build a program, we have to have equipment, we have to have all these pieces, and there's no way that amount would do that. So in that conversation, it kind of just fizzled out, and they were like, okay, well, I guess K-12 doesn't need us, right? We haven't had a structure to receive business in a way to say, hey, we're going to be purposeful. So now with this 865 Academies, in that freshman academy, there's a course that every freshman takes. It's called Freshman Seminar. Within that, some of you may have already been part of that. Every school, their academy coach invites in local business professionals to speak to those classes, give them exposure to what that looks like. When we move into the 10 to 12 years, there's an experience where they'll actually take field trips to some of those sites to tour some of those plants or some of those businesses to get an idea of that. I mean, our goal is to keep our talent here, right? I know a lot of the freshman academies are taking bus tours to post-secondary visits to our area colleges and getting kind of exposure to that and getting them on campus. I'm going to give a shout out to Project Grad for that. This all sounds very familiar to the work Ronnie and her team have done for the last 2 decades, and we've learned a lot from that work. And they've done, again, a lot of concentrated work in this area around Fulton and Austin East. We think every high school needs this. And so it's really our chance to expand that. Our hope then is junior and senior level year, we have internships for students. Externships is kind of a different word for teachers, but if you've been teaching for 10 years, you may not understand the relevance of what you're teaching when kids say, why do I need this, right? So working with the chamber to get our teachers out in workforce for, during the summer or a day's leave to kind of understand that this is what industry has moving forward. All of those things bring the relevance in to keep kids connected.
Thanks, John. Okay, pivoting over to Ronnie, I feel like we're kindred spirits, and this work is in our DNA, right? It's in our marrow. Your work with Project Grad over the years exemplifies how a nonprofit can work in partnership with schools to address student challenges, as you said. From your perspective, why are fewer students entering the post-secondary pipeline, and how can community-based organizations, and I know a lot are in the room, play a role in reversing negative COVID trends? This really started with COVID.
Yeah, thank you so much. So first, it is my honor to sit on this panel and represent nonprofits. But I would like to ask all of my colleagues who work in education-related nonprofits who are in the room if you would just stand. Thank you. Any one of us could be on this panel. I'm just the one that's Chrissy's friend. Thank you for all you do. There are 3 things all of us in the nonprofit sector have in common and make it really powerful when education and industry wants to partner with us and invest in our work. 1, we know, respect, and value those we serve. 2, we take a strength and asset approach. And 3, we consider what matters to those we serve. What do they say they need and want? One of our strong suits is the ability and agility to respectfully partner and form relationships with kids and families, K-12, higher education, industry, community-based organizations, youth-serving partners, faith-based organizations, social and civic clubs, fraternities and sororities. And these relationships are important because our children are not okay. And they are not gonna be for a very long time. COVID, economic recession, family and community violence, gun violence, drugs, gangs, racial tension, lack of access to physical and mental health resources, witnessing murder in prime time, suppressed grief and PTSD are impacting the generation we're talking about in the class of 2024 in every high school. Plus, COVID exposed disparities we already knew were there. More needs are coming to higher education along with these young people. Food insecurity is coming to college. Transportation challenges may mean they can't even get there. Many have family responsibilities that pull them to full-time work. Our Latinx student population is growing, and DACA is being challenged in the courts right now. And these dreamers cannot access supports that make post-secondary attainable. Talent has no zip code, but opportunity often does. Equity issues affect access. Just because we invite them doesn't mean they have what they need to participate. I was the proofreader for my daughter's dissertation on generational differences in an academic setting, and I learned some things about this generation as my eyes were crossing proofing a dissertation. Today's 17-year-old junior in the class of 2024 was born in 2006 and is a member of Generation Z. They are constantly connected to each other, mostly via screens, mostly phones. They are very social, with a wide social media footprint: text, Instagram, Snapchat, online games, group chats, YouTube, and TikTok. Friends are very important. They are highly collaborative and self-reliant. They are very comfortable with technology. They have never known anything but instant everything, high speed. Technology makes worldwide communication immediate for them. They are from diverse, blended families. They are more accepting of differences than any previous generation. They have opinions about world issues like homelessness and climate change, and they question everything. They are brilliant and opinionated. For this generation, mental health is especially important, just as important as physical health. This generation was born 5 years after 9/11 changed our country forever. For them, mass shootings at school, church, concerts, malls, grocery stores are commonplace. And gun violence and police tensions and COVID are events that shape them. They don't feel safe anywhere. So, this morning, we are in a moment where unprecedented collaboration for K-12 is possible. The school system, elected officials, the chamber, higher education, employers, donors, but we will not get there without the seventh partner, nonprofits. The mayor said God, so I'll just say if I were preaching, I would tell you that point to remember. We will not get there without the seventh partner, nonprofits. Both business and nonprofits exist to solve a problem or meet a need. Nonprofits live at the intersection of opportunity and need. We help make important connections. We must all be ready to tell a more relatable story about the value of higher education in a world forever changed by COVID. And we must anchor our empathy in the right now reality of the class of 2024 and their family. College matters to them, but it doesn't matter more than everything else in their life. How will we help them clear the noise and see the connection of education to the life they want?
2006, huh? That makes me feel really old. That's so good. We have a value proposition problem across this generation of questioning why college? Do I have to go? Is this a necessary step? Something that it appears the University of Tennessee at Knoxville is tackling head on. Chancellor, can you talk to us about how you see the role of the university evolving to meet current and future workforce needs?
Sure. Thank you, Chrissy, so much for that. And thank you to all these panel members. I want to say at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, we're thinking about this in a couple of ways. One is, and I just want to add to your description of these students, one of the things we know about the young people who've come to UT in the last 3 years, we've assessed 18,000 of them have taken Clifton Strengths Finders. Anybody in here who's taken another top 5 strengths? All of our students know theirs now. The number two, the one and two, top 2 strengths, the idea is we all have strengths, you have to leverage them. 34 strengths, which are your top 5? The top 2 strengths, the last 3 years have been competitive and restorative. Restorative means they want to fix things, they want to solve problems. That gives me so much hope because this generation sees things that have happened and they want to be part of the solution. So I think that's really a positive thing to think about. Another issue that we're concerned about, and it's happening nationwide, is young men aren't going to college nearly at the rates they used to, particularly young men of color. If you look at our last year's freshman class, I think it was something like 41% men, 59% women. We're right in there with the rest of the country. Now, the guys over at UT think that's okay. But it's not okay for if young men are not seeing the value proposition. We got to figure that out. And I think one of the things we're trying to do is targeting our resources to particular groups who have different needs. Veterans are coming in numbers we've never had. Their needs for support are really different than the 18-year-old right out of high school. Students who come from rural Tennessee, their needs are different. Young men of color have really different needs that get in their way of succeeding. And so we're trying to target our efforts according to special populations and the needs that they have. But I think the thing that I'm most excited about that's happening at UT Knoxville, is that we're trying to change the way we put together what is a degree. I'm probably going to get in trouble by saying this publicly, but we are working at this to where industry, we're going to create a new college where somebody is sort of an incubation setup for new majors or new degree programs. We don't have to call it a major even. That somebody's waking up every day talking to you about, and other people in business, about what are the jobs that we need, what are the combinations of competencies kids need to come out and make an impact in the workforce. I'm excited about that. That's a novel thing to do. It's going to be called the College of, okay, Randy, this is where we are today, Emergent and Collaborative Studies. But the idea is that somebody just said it, the jobs that we're going to need, we don't even know what they are. So why not put together different competencies from around the skills we have, the knowledge we have at the university. I'm excited about that, but we need the help of the whole community to figure that out, and it's going to be constantly emerging. And that's something that a lot of us just in general aren't that comfortable with, is continuous change. But I don't see that changing.
No, I think that's right, Chancellor. And Randy and I recently saw a poll about students think college still matters. So I've been worried that they just think they can discount it altogether. And they're worried about how long it takes them to get a degree. And can you talk about that a little bit and how you're addressing that?
That's a great question. We want students to come in and get out in 4 years. Now, the way higher ed measures how well we're doing is according to what percentage do it in 6 years. Just think about that. That's crazy. Like my kids, it was 4 years. Now, there were some summer sessions, I will admit. We're trying to do things like really encourage a lot of advanced placement. We started a new mini term in January. Students loved it. They could get credit online at home while they're over the winter break holidays. We're working at those kind of things to keep students on track. One of the biggest contributors to student loan debt, and Randy and I totally agree on this topic, the narrative about student loan debt is really not correct. Most student loan debt is graduate students. Now, aside from that, debt goes up, your cost of a degree goes up if you stay there a long time. And so getting them through and on track degree programs where this is how you get to this date, and us all taking responsibility and getting them there. So we're working at all of those things.
That's great. Thank you. Mike, I've been doing this 15 years, and I hear all the time there's a disconnect between business and industry and post-secondary opportunity. How does Knox County continue to foster collaboration as well as innovation, and what role does the Knoxville Chamber play in this BHAG?
So a few ways, if I may. So one is, and the Chancellor just talked about it, the needs of the business community are changing. And where it used to be maybe over decades, over years, it's now almost daily and what they need. And so our role needs to be in constant conversations with the business community saying, okay, what do you need today? What are you going to need in 3 years? What are you going to need in 5 years? 2 years ago, we did a talent assessment asking that question. We're about to do it again so that we continue to stay on the cutting edge of what businesses need. We need to push them. Don't tell us you need people to show up on time, communicate. We get that. But what technical skills are they going to need? What cognitive skills are they going to need? Because that matters to what classes they take, whether it be in secondary or post-secondary education. Next, we need to really talk to both the post-secondary institutions and the students and their families about what jobs are going to be available and the demand levels. So yes, there may be a great job here, but it's really less than 1% of the jobs available. That may not be the path you want to go unless you're very specialized. You may want to go to something that is going to grow over time. And then, look, I have a 15-year-old. His number one concern is how much money can he make? And so we've got to talk to these kiddos about here are the opportunities for you financially that you can do. If you do take student debt, and I'm so glad you said that, because that is huge, it is mostly in graduate debt when you see that, but is that this can help you pay for the college that you want to go for, or the degree, or the associate's degree, or the certificate. So I mentioned my son. We have an only child, so we have one kid, and we tell him all the time, we want you to grow up and be whatever it is that you want to be, whatever makes you happy. But as an only child, you're going to have to take care of mom and dad. So whatever you decide to do, better be able to take care of the latter. So if you want to be an artist, but you can't be a starving artist. And so that's where the role of the chamber can play, is continually talk to both the business community and the education community, as well as the families, about what's coming up.
That's so great. Okay, for the entire panel, we're setting a big goal today. We need everybody in this room. As Randy said, you're all going to leave and find your 3 students, and we're going to get there very quickly. But talk about the assets that we have in this community, because I think we have more than we can count, but also some challenges that will prevent us from getting there. Just anybody.
I'll just start. I think our old ways of working together don't work. And so we have moments like this allow us the opportunity to completely rethink. And I think I'll just speak for the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. We have to rethink how we work with the community colleges, with Pellissippi State. We have to rethink what is our piece of this problem and our piece of the solution, and really share responsibility for both. And I don't think that historically, we've done that so much. We've been in our little silos. So those are some changes I think need to happen.
An asset to be able to sustain this kind of collaboration, I think, is an opportunity that we have, and we can do that well in this community. A challenge I think we need to be aware of is to be mindful to question, are we not involving those we say we want to serve? And so I think that's really important. It's that quote, nothing about us without us.
I would say, I think, probably agreeing with what was said here, I think we have it feels like we have this alignment happening in ways, and I mean, again, I know all of these guys and we talk, and like that's not always been the case. So I think that is super exciting for our community moving forward. I think that's a great thing. We have, structural changes we talked about in 865, and we have great educators in classrooms. Those kinds of things matter. I think I'd say 2 challenges that we probably have that I think moving forward. One is changing the way we do work is hard, right? I mean, the way we counsel students, the way we divide our structures, the way we do all those things. I mean, we have to start those conversations back in 6th grade. That's different, because most 8th grade parents think their students are all going to be attorneys and physicians, right? And so to go talk about what advanced manufacturing is to an 8th grade parent is kind of like, no, my child's going to be a doctor, right? Like that kind of thing. And it's cool, they might be, but still all what the career things are out there. That's very different to think about addressing 6th graders with exposure so that they have a better idea of their freshman year in doing that. So what everyone does on their daily basis is how we change that, and that can be difficult. I think there's also, my second thing I would say is some mixed messaging. I think in education, especially in K-12, we've come with this one of 2 things. You're one of these 2 tracks, and we say, well, it doesn't exist, but it does exist. So it's you have this aptitude to be smart, so you'll never sniff any kind of class that is a career tech education or those sorts of things. Or you're good with your hands, right? We hear those things, right? And it's like, that doesn't work anymore. Like that's not what the future workforce is. It's going to take people exposed to high levels of advanced academics who have the competency to get it done, while they also learn the skills of hitting deadlines, how to collaborate, and that's really what we're doing in 865. It's not that they're going to pick their career path forever out of there, but it's really those exposure to those other skills that make them successful, from what we hear to Mike's extent on employers saying, it doesn't seem like they've ever worked with anybody before. It doesn't seem like they can hit deadlines. And those are all pieces of what we're trying to do in 865. So I think those 2 things will be big.
I think 2 things as well. One is we as a community, we as a region, we cannot accept good any longer. We have to go for great. The world is changing. We have got to change with it. And 2 is, especially when we talk about education, we can't be afraid to fail. We've got to keep trying. If something doesn't work, we can't sit there, we're going to stop and we failed. No. That's great. What did we learn? Now what are we going to do next? I think those are the 2 things that we really got to do if we're going to achieve not only 70 by 24, but also into the future.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that, but I have to add, and if you know me, this will not surprise you, but like data really matters, and tracking where we are in real time actually really matters, and looking at the data by subgroup. Like we can't just push to 70 and not think about which 70. I mean, we have major disparities across our high schools. One high school is at 37% college going, and one across town is at 76% college going. And so knowing those disparities and understanding where we're actually moving the needle, and we can do that. And so in my mind, that's a huge opportunity that we have. I would also say that messaging really matters to students, to families, to stakeholders, to business, to higher ed, to K-12. What's the message that we need to get out around this big goal? Any of you, all of you.
We know that higher education leads to a better life. So we got to talk about it that way. And a better life includes not just more money, it includes better health, health insurance, higher engagement in communities, more philanthropic, a well-rounded life. And we need to stand behind that and be proud of that and start talking about it with more energy.
Yeah, and I think we want to say that we're reevaluating what we honor and recognize and credit and count as post-secondary, including stackable micro-credentials and apprenticeships, and then we can't wait as long as we've been waiting. Elementary school is not too early to provide early awareness opportunities.
I would say two things. Everything's two for me. So I say two. One for parents, I think, be involved and engage this. I think lots of times there's that kind of thought of, well, when they get to high school, or it's a senior year thing, right? That's when we think about it, and it's not. So there's going to be opportunities throughout middle school and high school, and to Ronnie's point, even in elementary, as we get down to that, figuring what that looks like, that we want to be engaged. We want them to understand that that is part of that. To our business community, I think the relationship has been very transactional. We need $10,000 for this. We write a check, we shake hands and hold a big check, and it's over, right? That's not the relationship we want. We want time and talent. We want you in our schools, adopting the schools, relationships with that staff. That's why we've created the academy coaches, that there's a point of contact at that school. And so every one of our schools, you can be part of that. But we really want long-term partnerships. To what Mike said, we don't know what welding looks like in 5 years, but we know we have welding courses that are going on. We don't know what the needs of business are in the future, but if we have people who are walking the halls, are part of the schools, know the staff, then that's a game changer to have real contact, and we can make those changes quicker. That's important.
I don't know if I can answer your question, Chrissy, directly, but I could say what we don't need to do. And I understand this, and so don't throw anything at me, but we've got to stop the not every kid has to go to college messaging. And that, thank you, Chris, I appreciate that. Again, every child, every person is going to have to do something post-secondary, and we've got to figure out a way to say post-secondary without it sounding like it's a bunch of gobbledygook from the government. And so if we could do that and we could get people to stop saying not every kid has to go to college, I think we'd go pretty far.
No, I love that. Nothing will be thrown at you. I'll shield you. I totally agree. And I think we also have to say to students, like, every kid is college material. We create this big tent, and then we say, you all are welcome in the big tent, and we'll meet you where you are so that you can get there. So join me in thanking our panelists. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Keith Gray, who is the Chief Medical Officer for UT Medical. I was reading an article this morning about Dr. Gray. I was introduced to him from my dear friend, Steve Diggs, and Keith said in this interview, which I love so much, Keith, that a great leader builds a strong team. And so what I should share with you now is that not that we've just set this big goal and we say, go out and live your lives and do great work, but we're going to come to you to talk about how this continues to matter. But Keith's going to inspire us now. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's okay. Good morning to everyone. Again, I want to take the opportunity to thank the members of this panel and really thank them for letting me be a part of this panel. There's one up here that doesn't look like the other, and I think that's me. I'm a healthcare provider and not an educator. But it's just a pleasure to be a part of a panel and a team that cares so much about the kids and the future of Knoxville. And I also want to thank Dr. Wise for hosting us. I spent a lot of time here because he has the largest flat surface probably in Knox County. and so this is my running spot of choice. But I haven't spent a lot of time inside, so it's a beautiful complex, and I just want to thank you for hosting. As a health advocate and a healthcare leader, I say repeatedly to that our community cannot be its best until everyone in the community has an equal opportunity to achieve their best health. A community health equity vision is driven by economic stability, neighborhood and physical environment, education, access to healthy food choices, social and community cohesion, and access to quality and culturally competent health care. While healthcare delivery, which is what Bruce and I do, only determines 20% of health outcomes, few will argue that economic standing and educational attainment are major contributors to individual and community health. In my work, these factors are known as the social determinants or drivers of health, but I believe that they can be more appropriately be described as drivers of life, and therefore the determinants of a thriving community. Furthermore, while economic stability and educational attainment remain the key contributors to a community's success and are perhaps two sides of the same coin, I believe the key contributor to a vital and sustainable Knox County future is equipping every Knox County student, regardless of demography, with an equal opportunity to achieve a high-quality credential after high school. I do not want us to take for granted that everyone who buys into 70x24 believes that this is true. Some will argue to push for the higher performing schools, as you mentioned. Let's push them harder. Let's get that 76% to 80%. While others will point to the closure of the gap in post-secondary pursuit between the urban and suburban schools as low-hanging fruit. Whatever the strategy, there are key assumptions that we all here today must agree upon if we are to be successful in this goal in 2024 and beyond. The first one is every child has equal value and has a potential part to play in the quote-unquote best Knoxville. That does not imply that we educate toward the median. It means that challenging those with advanced skills and interest and fostering wraparound resources for those who need assistance, shepherding each to achieve their individual best. Number two, the conditions in which our kids are born, grow, and live are unique and interdependent. Therefore, there is no algorithm or one-size-fits-all strategy that will apply. We must see each child's challenges and possibilities individually and commit to unique plan development for each student based on his or her background. Number three, educational achievement and outcomes are influenced by factors beyond Knox County Schools' control. Educating and formulating strategic partnerships with parents, coaches, mentors, churches, and community groups such as Emerald Youth Foundation and the Boys and Girls Club will be essential, and each must be willing to identify and address the variables that only they can influence. Number four, every child must help formulate their own post-secondary goals and commit to working the plan. We, in this room and beyond, cannot carry the ball across the finish line for them. Our jobs are as cheerleaders, to hold them accountable, to remove barriers, to create financial backstops, guardrails, and tailwinds, and most importantly, help them formulate a vision that they cannot unsee. Number five, for this community to be its very best, every individual in this community must have an opportunity to achieve his or her best. Said differently, I cannot achieve my best life if you, Chief Roush, don't have an opportunity to achieve yours. There is a student at AE, there's a student at Powell, there's a student right down the street at Hardin Valley Academy who has the solution to problems that I am currently facing. I believe 70x24 is inspirational, it's aspirational, and it's attainable, but it will not be easy. Nothing worth having is. As we have alluded to, there is a complex interplay of factors that will need to be addressed in parallel through strategic partnerships to successfully address the COVID-related downward trend in the college going rate. I will sign up to be a Tennessee Achieves mentor this afternoon and issue a challenge to others in Knox County to do so. At the last count on their website, we were short about 650 mentors to start to reverse this trend. But signing up to be a mentor and pointing kids to Tennessee-supported college resources like Tennessee Promise may be the easy button. I believe that the most pressing issue facing our nation today is a self-identity crisis. And I think Ms. Chandler pointed to that, especially among our young people. It has never been more evident than during the post-COVID recovery, when the mental fragility of our nation is at an all-time high. We must prepare to face this issue head on if we hope to achieve and maintain success in any area. If our kids don't know who they are or why they are here, they can't be expected to know where they're headed or how to get there. If I can paraphrase Viktor Frankl, he says, if you know the why, you can put up with pretty much anything. College pursuit is a no-brainer, and it is a clear next step on a journey where the destination is clear. We must stop letting ESPN, TikTok, and IG define our kids' value. Only God can do that. Instead, we, parents, coaches, educators, churches, employers, must constantly remind them that they have been created with unique gifts and talents in the image of a perfect God who has designed all of them to do good things in this world. The burden is upon us to help them identify those gifts, emphasize that their calling is not to aspire to be like others around them, and remind them that real joy in life is found in serving others, not in money, likes, followers, or things. While there are exceptions, pursuing and completing high-quality post-secondary training is a determiner of success. No matter how gifted or talented, most need training in their area of interest to reach their potential. I developed an interest in surgery when I was 15 years old, but I needed 17 years of post-secondary training to achieve expertise in cancer care and another 2 years to own the title of Chief Medical Officer. Training after high school not only equips you with fundamental skills to address evolving challenges, but the learning environment is important in appreciating diversity and differences, identifying shared problems, and working in teams to solve them. Our Knox County kids are members of diverse teams that will solve undiscovered problems impacting our state, our county, and our nation. Let's partner and invest in our future by investing in them. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for being here. Stay dry, and let's go out and do good work. We'll be in touch. Thank you all.